Did you know there are plants that can do calculations? This sounds like science fiction, doesn't it? But what if I told you that deep inside a quiet green leaf, something incredible is going on? Something akin to the kind of logic and decision-making we associate with animals or even ourselves. Let's take a walk at night. Not a city night, ablaze with neon and electricity, but into the quiet of the countryside, where moonlight bathes the leaves in silver and everything seems still. Now focus. Amid the dormant flowers and folded petals, something surprising is going on. A lowly, often overlooked weed, Arabidopsis thaliana, a small, unassuming plant. But don't let its appearance fool you. It holds one of the most enigmatic secrets of the plant kingdom. See, during the day, this plant absorbs sunlight and stores the energy as starch. That's not surprising. Most plants do. But what happens next is remarkable. When night falls and photosynthesis stops, Arabidopsis starts tapping into that starch to survive the long hours of darkness. But here's the thing. If the plant uses too much starch too early, it risks starving before the sun comes up. If it uses too little, it wastes precious energy. So what does it do? It does calculations. I'm not talking figuratively. Scientists from the John Innes Center in the UK have discovered that these plants do something akin to arithmetic division. They measure how much starch they have and divide it by the number of hours of night left. Then they adjust their rate of use accordingly, like a person budgeting money to live until payday. Imagine that. No brain, no neurons, no consciousness as we understand it, but still an internal process that mirrors mathematical thinking. As if the plant knows how to wait, how to plan, how to survive. Think about that. Now ask yourself, what else are we missing when we look at the lush world around us? We see plants as passive, silent, maybe even dull. But what if we're seeing them wrong? What if, beneath the surface, there's a hidden intelligence, a slow, ancient form of calculation, one that doesn't need speed or spark to be profound? This isn't just about one plant. This discovery opens the door to a radical rethinking of life. Because if a leaf can do math, what else can it do? In part 2, we'll dig deeper. We'll explore more surprising plant abilities, plants that count, choose, remember, and what this means for how we define intelligence. But for now, remember this. The next time you pass a plant, it may not be waving. It may not be talking, but it may be quietly doing math, waiting for the dawn. In part 1, we discovered a shocking truth. Plants like Arabidopsis thaliana can perform basic arithmetic to survive the night. But that's just the beginning. The more we learn, the more we see signs that plants are capable of much more than we ever imagined. Let's move from math to memory. Can a plant remember? Not in the way you or I do, with images, emotions, or a sense of self, but in their own language, their own timescale. The answer is yes. Take the mimosa pudica, this sensitive plant. Touch its leaves, and they immediately fold back, as if retreating from danger. In 2014, researchers tested the plant. They repeatedly dripped water onto its leaves, innocuous drops, no real threat. At first, the plant responded as you'd expect. The leaves folded back each time. But then something strange happened. The plant stopped responding. It wasn't because it was tired. It wasn't because it was broken. But because the plant learned. The plant remembered that the water droplets were harmless. And weeks later, it still remembered, even without a brain. Now pause. That's a form of learning, a form of decision-making. And it raises a bigger question. What exactly is intelligence? If there's no brain, then, if neurons aren't the essential ingredient, so what makes something intelligent? Let's take another example, a closer one, bean plants. In 2016, researchers in Italy and Australia designed a maze experiment for bean plants. That's right, a maze. They trained the plants to face a fan, which was always placed next to a light source. After a while, when only the fan was present, but no light, the plants still grew in the direction of the fan, as if anticipating the light would follow. That's association. That's conditioning. Conditioning. Same basic concept Pavlov used with dogs. Except this time it's a learning plant. Let's be clear, no one is saying these plants are thinking in the human sense. But they are processes. interpreting, adapting. In nature, that's all. And this is where things get even more fascinating. Some carnivorous plants, like the Venus flytrap, are actually valuable. Their traps don't snap shut after just one touch. They wait for a second touch, a third touch confirmation. They're reducing false alarms. They're performing a kind of signal verification. In essence, a logic test. One touch could be wind. 2 touches? A meal. Such a response is more than just instinct. It's strategy. So what does all this tell us? Plants aren't just passive life in the background. They're not decorations or biological furniture. They're active participants in the survival game of life, silent strategists with tools we're only beginning to understand. As science continues to peel back the green layers, we're being forced to rethink everything we thought we knew. About intelligence, about life, and perhaps about ourselves. But it doesn't end there. In part 3, we'll explore how these discoveries are changing science, robotics, and even the future of artificial intelligence. Because if plants can count, remember, and adapt without brains, then perhaps intelligence is about more than just what happens inside the skull. Perhaps that's what happens wherever life needs to survive. So far, we've known that plants can do math, remember past experiences, and even make decisions based on their environment. But now we're stepping beyond leaves and roots into something bigger. Because the real question isn't just, how do plants do this? It's, does this force us to rethink? For centuries, intelligence has been associated with brains, with neurons firing, with electrical impulses inside the skull. But plants don't have brains. They don't have nerves. And yet they process data. They respond. They adapt with precision and purpose. That's not just fascinating, it's revolutionary. In recent years, scientists and philosophers have begun to ask, is intelligence just what happens in the brain? Or could it be something more distributed, more flexible, more organic? A growing field of research, plant neurobiology, suggests that we may need a new definition. One that includes distributed systems of signals and responses. One that acknowledges that intelligence doesn't always require cognition. And this shift is spreading beyond biology. In the world of robotics and AI, researchers are now looking to plants for inspiration. Think about it. Plants solve problems slowly, quietly, and with surprising efficiency. They don't rely on speed. They rely on strategy. They don't run away from threats, they adapt to them. Engineers are studying how grapevines find support in complex environments, how roots optimize their paths through soil, how sunflowers track the sun with perfect precision, all without a central processor. Why? Because this kind of decentralized intelligence could be the key to designing more adaptable, resilient machines. Soft robots, bio-inspired algorithms, energy-efficient AI, and it all started with a plant. But this conversation goes beyond machines. It touches on something deeper, something philosophical. What if life has more ways of knowing than we thought? What if consciousness isn't binary, on or off, but a spectrum? A spectrum that spans species, systems, time? When a plant remembers, reacts, plans, it challenges our assumptions about superiority. It humbles us. It reminds us that evolution isn't just about quick reflexes or spoken language. It's about survival, adaptability, connection. We've been trained to think of humans as the pinnacle of intelligence. But maybe we're just speaking the wrong language. Maybe we've overlooked the wisdom of slowness, the wisdom of silence, the strategy of stillness. So the next time you pass a patch of moss, a vine on a fence, or a tree standing still after decades of storms, stop. It may not blink. It may not move, but it may be making a decision. And in that stillness, there may be a kind of intelligence we're only beginning to understand. Trees calculate, they count, they remember, they adapt, not in spite of silence, of them, but of silence. And that truth may be the most humbling calculation of all.